I've been budgeting my finances for about a decade now, and before that, though, I felt completely lost with my money. I had no financial goals, I had no direction, but it was because of this dedication to budgeting for over a decade that my wife and I were able to pay off $43,000 of debt in just over a year. And now that I've coached dozens of other people in their personal finances, I've got a list of 10 budgeting mistakes that are super duper common, and I'm going to also share how I think we can fix them. And if you currently are one of those people that feel like you're lost, like I did years ago, I'm doing this live stream to hopefully save you some time and some stress of actually being in that situation and what you need to do to kind of get out of it. So let's jump into the first mistake you're probably making with your budget, and that's not including financial goals as a budget line item. Now, who here has financial goals? Let me know in the chat. Do you guys have any financial goals? They could be something that you're trying to do next week. Could be something you're trying to do in the next 10 years. But are you reaching them? Do you feel successful in terms of are you reaching them? Because if back in the day for me, I maybe started when I didn't have any goals, and then I was like, oh, goals are nice, and then I didn't know how to reach them. I was like, oh, let me dangle the carrot out, a while, but I don't know how to reach them. So if you have financial goals, you're probably not reaching them to the fullest potential, and it's because we're all setting ourselves up to fail. And here's what a lot of people do with their budgets and their finances. Let me know if you guys can relate to this. Vacation time, absolutely on the path, but it's a journey. I love that. Yeah, I appreciate you. You're a longtime commenter on the channel. Appreciate you. So here's what happens. I see it. I used to do it, and now I'm seeing it a lot in other people's personal finances as I'm helping them. But pay off the expenses for the month, right? And then there's nothing left over to put towards the financial goal, and it keeps getting pushed off to the next month, and the cycle keeps happening. So it's like you start the month, you're like, oh yeah, I have all these big plans for what I'm gonna do with my money, and I'm gonna pay off the debt, I'm gonna save the money, I'm gonna do whatever, right? And then life happens. 30 days go by, you look at your bank account, you're like, what the hell happened? You look at your financial goals, like, I didn't save any more money, I didn't pay off any more debt. And it's because our habits aren't changing, right? Our thoughts are changing, but our habits aren't changing. And when our habits don't change and we expect a different outcome, that's a little silly, right? Of course, things aren't going to change. We can think things into existence all we want. And I'm talking to my older self here because I was a big, I would think things and I wouldn't do things. Like, just taking the action is a big step. So here's what I like to do in terms of changing the habit. But habit, I mean, like, we're talking about budgeting tonight, budgeting mistakes that I see a lot of people are making. So by changing the habit, here's what really worked for me is making a list of the things that truly matter to you the most. There could be financial goals, they could be life goals. I call these the North Star goals. It's kind of a framework that I like to teach. It's like, so make a list of the most important things that you say matter the most to you. Could be a list of 2 things, 5 things, 20 things. It doesn't really matter, right? Because it's your list, okay? And that's the best part about this. Everyone has their own list. Now what we want to do is we want to go back 3 months of our spending. So we want to look at the last 3 months of all of our spending habits. We can see exactly where our money's been going, okay? We get an average for each of the categories, like groceries, gas, utilities, right? All the stuff. And then we see, okay, here's the average for all these categories. Are my North Star goals aligned with how I'm spending my money? And it can kind of slap you in the face because you're like, wow, I'm spending money in this category, like way more than what I was expecting. And yeah, you're just gonna be able to tell super quickly once you do this exercise. And so it is kind of a pain in the ass to do. I'm not gonna lie to you. Going back 3 months, you look at everywhere where you spent money. So your bank accounts, your credit card statements, cash is a little harder to kind of figure that out. Let me catch up with the chat here. Crystal, I have goals, but still need to write them down. They're just floating around in my head. Yeah, love that. Yeah, we're gonna write those down soon, right, Crystal? Jules, what can I do to save more money when I have bills every week? Okay. So what I so Jules, to kind of, yeah, Jules, sorry, the glare was hurting my eyes. What I have done in the past, and I don't know your situation, how much money you make, how often you get paid, but what I've liked to try and do is pay myself first. And what I mean by that is we get a paycheck, and even if it's a little something, so let me give you a specific example, Jules. So I've worked with a lot of people that get paid weekly, and for them, they maybe didn't have an emergency fund or any savings. So at the end of every month, they just kept feeling like they were not making any progress. And I was like, well, you haven't saved any money, which, it's fine. We're starting out, but like you get paid every week. What would happen if you just started saving $25 a week? You get your paycheck and boom, $25, it goes to some other account that's not your checking account. And then at the end of the month, you have $100 in theory, right? And then a lot of people would kind of scoff at that and say that $100 is not a lot of money. And I would agree with you, but it's not about the money. It's not about the money. It's about the habit that you're building in terms of saving the money. So if we save money first and then sort of reorganize all of the rest of our commitments and all of our other things, we create the North Star goals and we align ourselves with the things that matter to us the most, then maybe that could help you here. Jules, let me know what you think about that. But that was a very topical question because that's kind of the one that I'm talking about now. So back to the North Star goals and the 3-month look back of our expenses that we're doing. Ideally, we just want to, ideally, if we're paycheck to paycheck and we don't feel like we're getting ahead, it's either we need to reduce our expenses, we need to increase our income, or we do both at the same time. So a lot of times the quick fix is just looking at our expenses and just seeing what can we do like today. The long-term fix is increasing the income, and you get bonus points if you're doing both of them at the same time, right? But obviously increasing the income, it's kind of hard to do like tomorrow sometimes, a lot of times. But expenses we can do today. We can start working on that today a little bit. And I don't want I don't want people to think that this is like I have to start being focused on my finances, so I have to immediately just start cutting everything. No, that's why I like the North Star goals, where we're telling ourselves, okay, these are the things that we want or they matter the most to us. And then everything else, we're giving ourselves permission to kind of trim the fat, right? So if it's not on the North Star goal list, we're telling ourselves, not important, we can just kind of get rid of it and it's not a big deal. All right, Jules, cool. I'm glad that helped. I appreciate it. Keep us updated on how that works out for you. And then so now let's kind of transition into the second budgeting mistake that you're probably making, that I probably made back in the day, that a lot of people probably make, right? It's not tracking all the expenses. So for some reason, and I was so guilty of this, we think that keeping track of our finances is working when we just do it in our head. I don't know why, for some reason. Quick, let me know if you guys are watching this. What did you guys have for breakfast 3 days ago? Nobody knows. Nobody knows. We don't know what we did 3 days ago. So how are we going to know what we did 30 days ago? 23 days ago, right? We have no idea. So that's why we have to kind of keep track of it. I talk to a lot of people where in their personal finances, they just kind of use a general term for like bills, for example, which is fine. And then what they do is they have the bills in their head. So they're thinking about the stuff that they owe other people. So it's like, okay, I know I have utility bill, I have my rent or mortgage bill, I have this bill for daycare, I have, right? We know like the big things, but we are not really considering the everyday expenses or the items that kind of fluctuate, like the groceries or the other subscriptions or whatever the thing is, right? That's why just tracking everything is so important, because if we're only tracking some of the stuff, then we can't expect to get 100% of the outcome if we're doing 50% of the effort, right? And it's kind of annoying to hear that and say that, but it's like we have to put in 100% of the effort to get 100% of the result. And we can't just keep like this wishy-washy thing. I tried it for a long time. It doesn't work. I just thought like, So for context, like I went to school for accounting, guys. Like I've been a corporate accountant for over a decade now, and I used to tell myself how great I was with money and finances and all this other stuff. And the words that I was saying did not align with the actions I was taking in my life. And that's like a really hard pill to swallow once you like have to look yourself in your mirror in the mirror, like I am not doing enough here. Um, Coffee, egos. Yeah, for sure, guys. Um, So yeah, we're not gonna win if we half-ass it. It's true with anything in life, but really for personal finances. So we have to like full ass it. We have to be very intentional with what we're doing, and yeah, I mean, I don't like to stand up here and like preach, so I like to talk about my story and my situation, and then maybe um, just general stories of like the general population of people that I work with. But before I started budgeting, I was kind of just doing the same thing, and I was wondering why I was living paycheck to paycheck every single month, and I was wondering why I wasn't getting ahead. It was because my full attention was not towards this thing. So sometimes if we don't like our financial outcomes, we don't like the output, we have to look at the input. And that's been a very helpful frame for me whenever I'm trying to conquer a new thing. It's like, okay, well, the output of this thing sucks. Like, why can't I do the thing? It's like, and then you look at the inputs, like, how much time am I putting into this, right? You have to ask yourself, how much time, how much money, how much effort, how much sacrifice am I putting into this thing? And once you start doing more of that, then you can really say, like, okay, I'm putting in the inputs. Why isn't the output working? And if you're putting in enough inputs, the output should be working. Okay, so sorry, 1 second. Little tech situation here. So yeah, I'm gonna take a quick break here to just kind of, so I did the poll in the beginning of this. Are you interested in a free workshop to pay off debt? And the reason why I did that is because I'm starting to do weekly workshops, and they're going to start off on YouTube. But I can't. I'm doing this on my phone, and I can't put it in the chat here what the link is to sign up for. But it's going to be next Monday. So if you're watching this live now, go down to the description in this video if you're able to find that, and there's a link down to sign up for a weekly workshop. And this one specifically is going to be how to pay off debt even when it feels impossible, because we've all been there, right? We've all been there. We have debt, we are not making progress, and we don't know what to do. So this is going to be a little workshop, step by step, of literally everything that I've done to pay off debt, pay off $43,000 in just over a month, help dozens of people inside my personal finance community that I have also do the same. Well, not the exact same, but you know what I mean, like get progress in their personal finances. It could be paying off the debt, it could be saving more money. So if you're interested in that, I do have a link down in the description of this live stream. Hopefully you're able to find that. So the third budgeting mistake that we are all making is we give up too soon when the first budget fails. And I'm not gonna lie to you guys, personal finance is pretty hard, right? There is no sugarcoating it. It's like anything in life. Again, it's like anything that we want in life is going to be hard. The easy stuff, I mean, is it worth even doing? The easy stuff, is it worth having, or is it worth like trying to? The easy stuff is the easy stuff, but the hard stuff is worth like putting in the work, in my opinion. And if you've never gone down like the personal finance journey before, it means it's a new skill, right? And new skills are hard at first to learn. And I like to think about this, like growing up, it's like, obviously I didn't know how to ride a bike right away. I didn't know how to swim right away. My first job, I didn't know how to do any of the tasks that I did, right? But it's like, you start and you learn and you continue. It's like any sort of progress. So, if we keep falling off the wagons, how can we find a way to make the process feel like it's a necessity? Sort of like, hey, like I need to learn how to do my job or I'm not going to have a job, right? It's like, that seems like a necessity. So it's like, how do we make our personal finances feel like it's a necessity to be able to kind of move it forward? And dare I say, how do we make them fun? How do we make them fun? How are you guys in the chat right now, or if you're watching this after, how are you trying to make your finances fun? Do you have any ways that you make it fun? So I'll give you an example for me and my wife. We've been doing this for a little while now, but basically every pay period, so we both work 9 to 5 jobs, every single pay period we get paid, and we also direct all of our expenses out when we get paid to those 2 periods. So in the beginning of the month, we both get paid in our bank account and our mortgage comes out, okay? Then in the middle of the month, we get paid and we direct all of our other expenses, so like credit cards and everything. That's how we do it. We pay our credit cards in the middle of the month. We pay them all off every single month. And we organize our finances that way. So it's like, okay, we get paid, but here's the largest expense, and then we get paid again, and here's all the other expenses. And then what we try to do and how we make this a game is that hopefully our income is higher than that expense piece coming out of it, right? So that's kind of the game. So every month for the last few years, we've had like 24 wins in our personal finances every year just by playing this little like fun, silly game of trying to organize our finances and make more than we spend in a 2-week period. Sorry. So yeah, if you're making finances fun, I would recommend that. So how do we make it feel like a necessity, or how do we make it fun? Well, a few ways to do this. We can have an accountability partner. I think this is a great one. That way you're not just letting yourself down, but you're letting them down too. Think about it if you had like a gym buddy, right? And this person expected you at the gym every morning at 6 a.m. and you just like kind of flaked out, didn't show up all the time, right? And this other person's like, hey, what the hell, man, right? Like you're letting me down here. And then they stop going to the gym and they stop doing the thing, and then you both stop doing the thing, and it's just, so I think having an accountability partner where it's like, I don't want to go, but like, I don't know, John's gonna be at the gym, I gotta be there, right? So that's one way to do it. So that could be, a significant other, a friend, a coworker, a family member. It doesn't really matter, but just find someone that's on the same journey as you and can kind of relate to the struggles that you're having or the wins that you want to get to, right? Another way that I think is really important is to have a financial goal that's so good and so impactful that you just feel like you have to reach it. Like the carrot you're dangling is so large out in front of you. So I'll just speak personally. So for example, I have a goal, sorry, to make enough money in the next 5 years where I can just tell my wife, I'm like, hey, you don't need to work anymore if you don't want to. Like, that would be pretty cool. That'd be pretty cool. I mean, we got 2 little kiddos at home. That would just be cool. I don't know if she would want to do that or not, but after writing it down, after saying it out loud in now a live stream, right, it's like, well, now I'm keeping myself accountable. You guys watching are keeping me accountable, and you just speak it into existence. Like that's all we're trying to do here, right? So my advice is to kind of give yourself a goal too good to ignore. So if you've created goals in the past, and again, talking to my younger self here, if you've created a goal too good, or if you've created a goal in the past that you haven't reached, or you haven't feel like you've been able to stay motivated to stick with it, then maybe it just wasn't strong enough. So maybe you need to like go back to the drawing board and be like, okay, what is the big thing that I'm trying to do? And a lot of times that means you have to chunk up the big goal into dozens of smaller goals, because you can't do, like, I can't have my wife not work tomorrow. Like, we need her income. So we can't do that tomorrow. So it's like, what are the things that I need to do in the next 5 years, whatever, that's just kind of an amorphous number, but in the next 5 years to be able to get to that point where I could sit her down and be like, hey, you don't have to work anymore if you don't want to. So it's all like, what's the big goal? And then how do we chunk it up into smaller goals? Number 4 budgeting mistake that you're probably making, and we've all probably made, is forgetting irregular or seasonal expenses. And I see this all the time, and I'm guilty of it too. I am doing this live stream in June, just as an FYI, if you're watching this later, but I want to talk about December, right? Because December is always kind of the most expensive month of the year. There's the holidays, there's all the blah, 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 right? But for some reason, us as an entire society, just like we don't think about the holidays until it's like November or December, and then we're like, oh wow, we have a lot to do, and then you end up buying so many things and food and gifts or whatever. Um, we do it all the time, but it's like who's it's June 30th right now. Who's thinking about December right now? Anyone? Anyone in the audience? Because I'm not, but we should be, right? We should be. Imagine if you, let's say your December is your most expensive month due to all the stuff that happening, our social obligations, all this other stuff. What if we saved $100 or $200 a month for the next 6 months, and then at December we just moved that money over and then paid out all the stuff, and it didn't feel like we lost, this crazy amount of money or went to crazy credit card debt. It's just something to think about. Another kind of story here. I was working with someone who had this, she had this 6-month bill due every 6 months, and she was always stressed about it, and she would end up putting it on a credit card, and then kind of like, so she would pay off the credit card, and by the next time the credit card was paid off, that bill was due again, and she'd have to put it on the credit card because she wasn't planning ahead. So I was like, okay, why don't we just put aside 1/6 of this bill every month, and then every 6 months you just move the money over and you pay the thing, and then you don't have to go into debt, right? So it was substantial. It was a couple $100s a month that she would have to figure out how to save and everything like that. But it's much better than doing the credit card thing. It's like pay the credit card and then pay the credit card off. It takes a few months, and then by the time you pay off the credit card, the next thing is due and you have to do it all over again. It's just a vicious cycle. So it's just something to think about. What are you guys thinking about that? Live in the chat here on a Monday evening. I appreciate you guys being here. The number 5 budgeting mistake that a lot of people make, and this won't relate to everyone, but not communicating with a partner about financial goals, right? So not everyone has a partner necessarily, and that doesn't mean anything, but I've seen it way too many times. Where like one person is in charge of it and the other person just waits for them to figure it out. And I think being aligned is super important. Now, just for full transparency, like I am obviously not obvious, but I'm the money guy in our house, the finance guy, right? But I do want my wife's buy-in, and I do want her to feel like she's involved, of course. So like when we were paying down the $43,000 of debt, we had a literal meeting on our couch for like 5 to 10 minutes at the beginning of every month to fill out this spreadsheet that we had, this terrible, awful spreadsheet that, it got us to where we wanted to go, but it wasn't the best spreadsheet. And yeah, we sat and we strategized, as silly as that sounds. I had debt in my name, she had debt in her name, and we had shared debt, and it was just a complete disaster. So we were, paying debts from different places, but they were all coming out of the same bank account. So if we didn't talk ahead of time, I didn't want to focus on my debt exclusively, and then she focused on her debt exclusively. Then we're like out of money, and that's just a complete disaster. Vacation time, no kidding. We just got our homeowners insurance policy. This bill guy is not our friend. Phone bill, car insurance bill, property. Yeah. Bill needs to get out of our life. The bill guy just needs to leave. Yeah, homeowners insurance. I know ours is coming up soon, like the renewal or whatever. It's never ending. But that's why we have to just plan for it. Like we know what the big things are. And I talked about the 3-month look back a little earlier, but it might be a good exercise over a period of time. You don't have to do it on like a night or something, but like you go back 12 months and you're like, okay, what are my one-time like annual or quarterly expenses that come up all the time, and that I should just start planning for them, right? Because it's like we have this budget in order, and then we forget about the quarterly, the annually, and then we have this $500 plus item that we're like, crap, how are we gonna figure this out, right? Crystal, that's me. I do the finances. Okay, yeah. So I think I think you're probably talking about like the partner communication thing. So I would say it's like very important to, again, my wife, like she rolls her eyes when I'm like, I try to bring up money stuff. She's gotten better now, but back in the day, she's like, "Are we really gonna do this meeting on the couch thing with the laptop?" I was like, "We have to do it." And now she looks back, she's like, "I'm happy we did it." So I think it's just finding um, an alignment of like, this isn't just for me, this is for us, and we need to get a hold of this, because like one person can't do it. One person can't be the only one doing it, and the other person just doesn't do it. Because then, how is that going to work? You guys if you have a shared bank account, like alignment is super helpful. All right, guys. Number 6, budgeting mistake. This one is okay. So it's using unrealistic spending limits, and with this, I could mean you could talk about high spending limits or low spending limits, but I want to talk about low, because what happens with most people, and let me know if this resonates, you get in a financial situation, right? You start slashing. So I think, again, the mindset is we either cut expenses or increase income. So I think a lot of people right away, they're like, okay, I'm in a financial thing, I gotta slash all of the expenses. How long can that really last though? Like if you do it super intensely, like a month or two, like it's not very sustainable. And then you go back to normal, and you end up yo-yoing the process. You end up yo-yoing, like what I mean by that is like you're slashing 1 month and then you're back, and then you're slashing again and you're back to normal, and it's just like this like crazy process. And this is kind of like the stuff that Dave Ramsey talks about. So if you don't know who Dave Ramsey is, he's one of like the largest personal finance gurus, I would say in the world, but definitely the United States. And he talks about this strategy of like, people call into his daily show and his daily radio show, and he yells at them for not, cutting enough expenses and things like that. And he jokes sort of about people eating rice and beans, all that good stuff, right? But he's helped a lot of people, obviously, too. He's been doing this for decades. So like, no shade against him or anything like that. But I don't know how, so for me, I would rather have someone take a little longer to get to where they want to go, guaranteed, than have it do the short way, but it's not as guaranteed. And what I mean by that is if you're like, okay, if I cut my expenses extremely for the next 12 months, I'm going to get to where I want to go. Or I could use the North Star goals approach, and it's going to take me 15 months, and I know that I'm going to get there. I'm not going to be starving myself. I'm not going to be like cutting out, some sorts of fun in my life. Like I'd rather have people get to where they want to go than think this like short-term fix is going to happen. Because once you get to the goal, okay, let's say you've been cutting for 12 months, you get to the goal. Now what? You kind of have to keep doing the extreme cutting thing to be able to keep the progress going, or unless your income is increasing. But like if you got there by slashing everything intensely, then that's the only way you have to keep going. So throttle it back a little bit. I know everyone's like, I gotta slash, I gotta cut this, cut that. Throttle it back a little bit. I'd rather have you get there than live miserably. How is this sitting with you guys? You guys making sense with this? That didn't make sense. Is this making sense for you guys? All right, so number 7 budgeting mistake that we all definitely make is ignoring small reoccurring charges. Now, I don't want to be the guy that's like, hey, don't buy the $5 thing, right? But I think it has to be said, where this kind of goes back to the thought process of like, most people have, like vacation time was mentioning, the bills, right? All the bills in our head, all the stuff all the money that we owe other people, it's all in our head, right? But it's like we got to remember the smaller stuff too. We have to remember the things that are going to add up every single month, because it's like, oh, where'd that $12 month? Oh, I've been paying that for 3 years. Like, where did that come from, right? I think we've all had that experience, and it just adds up. Again, it's like not going to make or break us, but it just adds up, and we could be using that money way more efficiently. We could be paying our debt with it. We could be saving our money with it. And again, people will scoff at the idea of, $12 here, $37 there is going to make a difference. But from what I found, like working, with other people and doing stuff in my own personal finances, $100 a month is significant. One, for paying off debt, the amount of less interest that you pay, but if you put $100 more towards your debt every month is crazy, crazy. Savings, same thing. It's like, yeah, savings is not going to make us rich. Absolutely not. Saving $100 a month won't make us rich, but it's going to build up the habit to where we don't even have to think about it anymore, and it just becomes a thing that we do. We just save money, and then eventually over time, as maybe you get a little better in the process, or the income increases, we just save more progressively, more and more and more. It's not going to happen tomorrow, right? It's not going to happen next month, but like it's going to happen if you keep doing the habits. That's why habit stacking and just habit building is one of the most important things in your personal finances. Everyone wants to talk about the best strategy and optimizing this, and oh, you should put your savings in this type of account and all this other stuff. And it's like, sure, that's all great, but like if I'd rather have the habits be there than like the perfectly optimized way to do the thing with your money, personally. Let's just jump to number 8, because that's kind of a boring one, right? The small recurring charges, but it has to be said. It has to be said. The next budgeting mistake a lot of people make, me included, but a lot of people, is overestimating how much self-control you have. Ooh, that one's tough, right? That's a tough one. Because that's a look in the mirror kind of situation where we have to see what's going on in there. But I was working with someone. This is when I was starting doing all this stuff, and we were reviewing his budget, and I came across an expense category that I didn't know what it was at the time. I do now, and I'm embarrassed that I didn't know what it was. But he put retail therapy. Now, in hindsight, it's like, well, that's pretty obvious what that could be, right? But I had no clue at the time, so I asked him. I was like, "Hey, what's going on here? What's this?" And he basically summarized that if he gets like sad or anxious, he gives himself permission to buy himself something to make himself feel better, to help with his mental health. This is kind of the answer that he gave. Now, I'm of course all for mental health and people finding peace, happiness in their life, etc. Right? That's great. Like for me, I don't know, maybe you guys share one thing that you do for your personal health. Like for me, I like waking up early and exercising every day. I don't get a lot of me time anymore with the 2 kiddos, right? But that's my me time. I wake up early and I do a workout, even if it sucks. And I'm like, you know what? I feel good. I'm energized. I'm like kind of ready to go. So that's kind of my thing. I'm interested to see if you guys have any like, mental health things or whatever that you like to do. But back to this example, creating a system where you tell yourself it's okay to buy things every time you have an emotion, I just think is kind of dangerous. And I know it's like personal finances can be personal, all this stuff, right? But he literally he had hundreds of dollars each month in this category, this retail therapy category. And when I asked him the kind of stuff that he buys, he looked at me, thought for a second, and was just like, I don't remember. And it was like it's just crazy because he had stuff in the month previous. So like when we met, he had some retail therapy stuff from like 10 days ago, and he just didn't remember what he bought. He's like, it might have been this, I don't know. I was like, how do you not know? It's hundreds of dollars of stuff. So for him, his goal was needing to be happy. But he was actually destroying his finances, if we're being completely honest. And destroying his future because he just had no self-control. And to be honest, if he had applied those hundreds of dollars towards his debt every month, if he just cold turkey cut off the retail therapy, he would have gone from paying off his debt it was like just over 20 years to like 4 years. So like 5 times faster. And he stopped reaching out to me. I don't think he liked what I was saying because he liked the retail therapy thing, which is fine. So to each their own. But I was trying to explain to him like this is an opportunity for you to like get out of the debt, and that's what you told me that you wanted to do like originally. So this is my advice, right? But anyway, that's kind of my thoughts around that. It's creating a process. I don't know, create a process that is a long-term sustainable process that align with your North Star goal. So everything, right? Time, money, effort, sacrifices, everything. Sorry. All right, number 9 on the budgeting mistakes that you're probably making. I walk 2 miles before work Monday through Friday. Oh, Crystal, that's awesome. Gold bullion is a resale therapy. Okay, yeah, so you're a gold buyer vacation time. But yeah, Crystal, that's cool. I guess we're similar in that way. Just like to get a sweat in before work and just start the day off well. And I guess vacation time too. You just buy gold every morning, right? Just kidding. The number 9 budgeting mistake that we probably all make is that we are assuming the income is guaranteed instead of planning for variability, okay? And this is kind of more for people with variable income. There's a lot of you out there. That it's a different animal for sure, but it's still possible to have a successful budget with variable income, and it can be a little more challenging, especially when we're creating a budget that's based off of expected income for the next month, right? Because that can be tough. And kind of the tools that I share with people is based on like, hey, give me an expected income. So that can be tough for variable. But what you do is a similar process to the 3-month look back, which if you're just joining me now is when you go back 3 months of your expenses. So today is June 30th. So we'll just say it's July 1st. So you would go back June, May, April, look at where all your spending was going, write them down, get the averages, and then kind of see it as, from 10,000 feet up, what's been going on with your spending and what kind of habits you have with that. But the same thing applies to the income, okay? So we go back. I like to recommend more than 3 months for your income if you have variable expenses, because there's less transactions for income. Like it's probably like a lot easier. So if you get paid weekly, it's like, okay, there's 4 transactions a month. Maybe 5 or 6 if you have other side things going on, but that's nothing, right? So I would almost go back 6, 9, 12 months, to be very honest with you, kind of see maybe what part of the year, is your job more seasonal? Like, is it something that is based on different parts of the year? So it's like, oh wow, January, February, March is low every time for me. So we need to plan accordingly to that. And then it's like, well, October, November, December are amazing. So we plan for that, right? So we have to, again, it's just going back, like the more data we have, the more information we have, the better chance we have of moving forward and making this whole thing work. So yeah, I guess because I've had this come up in the past where variable income is an excuse for people, like that it's like much harder, and it's like, okay, it probably is harder than someone on like a salary or a fixed income. I would say it's probably harder, but that doesn't mean that you can't do it or you shouldn't do it or it's an excuse not to do it. So hopefully this kind of the look back process of your income could kind of help you consider that. Again, it's a pain in the ass to get all the bank statements or whatever to go back, but I think for income you could just sit down, look at your bank stuff for an hour, and go back and look at 12 months, unless you have like all this crazy income. But that's kind of my thoughts on that. Let me know what you think. And we are finally at the 10th budgeting mistake that we all kind of make here, is failing to adjust for life changes. And this is hard because life changes all the time, right? But so personal story, right? My wife and I, we have 2 kids. I've mentioned that maybe once or twice already. We have a 4-year-old and a 1-year-old, and the 4-year-old has been in daycare for a long time, and the daycare costs $300 per week for him, right? Crazy. And then we had our daughter last year, And we knew kind of right away, like, okay, when she turns whatever, 6 months, whatever it was, we got to put her into daycare. So that's going to be $300 a week, right? So we had to make plans to to find the extra, what ends up being $1,200 a month in our finances, which just sounds insane. My gosh, like how does parenting work? Like, what are we doing here? But I went through literally all this stuff that I'm talking about in this live stream today. We did our North Star goals again. We've done that North Star goal process a bunch of times in the last couple of years because there's been a lot of life changes. And it's like, okay, what's the sacrifice here? So obviously we're not going to go into debt to try to pay for our kids' daycare. So we have to figure out, like, we got to sacrifice stuff. Everything's a trade-off. So it's like, okay, we're going to be paying for daycare soon. So how do we find $300 a week, $1,200 a month, which sounds just insane. But if you put your mind to it, you figure it out, and we just keep, I don't want to call it making sacrifices, but we keep making trades for other things in our life. It's like, okay, now what's the real North Star goals? It's like, okay, we do the next iteration. Okay, what are the actual North Star goals, right? What are the things? And it just keeps kind of shrinking and shrinking. And that's just telling us, hey, you have permission to now trim the fat off the rest of the stuff, because you're telling yourself it's not as important. And it's a lot easier to do that once you have bigger carrots dangling out in front of you. And for us, it's like our two kids are the big carrots. It's like, well, obviously we don't want to fail with them, for them, whatever. So that's kind of just what we do with that. So that's the list of 10, guys. Let me know what you think about that. I don't think I did a good job sharing that I do have a workshop next Monday evening. Hopefully you can get the link in the description. I don't have a way to enter it in the chat here for some reason. But if not, make sure to just, if you're interested, you can comment on one of my videos if you're on YouTube, and I will send you the link. So I apologize for the inconvenience on that. Or what you can do is join my personal finance community. It's called Dollar Discipline University. It's on school.com. The website's school.com/debt. That's also in the description. You can find that on my homepage, the channel page, if you're interested. And in there, I'm just helping people save more money, pay off debt, build up their personal finance foundation. And just get people some awesome wins in there. So if you like live streams like this, let me know. I'm going to be trying to go back on a schedule of a couple a week, because I am doing the weekly workshops, and I think I'm going to be using these live streams to kind of get a broader audience, which I think would be fun. But I obviously need to figure out how to tell you guys better about them. So anyway, if you haven't, smash the like button. Subscribe if you like these live streams. You'll get notified when I go live, and I'll see you in the next one.